Mizaistom's arrogance is going to ruin everything for the Zodiacs and pave the way to Beyond Netero's victory. Hello and welcome back to Subwar Central. My name is CJ, and if you're like any of the Hunter x Hunter fans in my real life that I've said that opening sentence to, you're currently looking at me through the screen like I'm a crazy person. I will concede that Mizaistom Nana doesn't exactly display the traits that typically come to mind as a result of hearing the word arrogance. However, arrogance can take many forms, and it's often more than just speaking in a condescending manner. In the case of Mizaistom, it's his belief that he alone has the intuition to manage information responsibly, and as we will come to see, no he does not. Before I make my case, it's important to understand who Mizaistom Nana is as a person. The man is a double-star crime hunter, who's no doubt seen his fair share of betrayals, double-crossings, corruption, and shadowy deals. It's his job to solve crimes and mysteries, and as a double-star hunter, there's no doubt he's damn good at it. What's more, as far as we can tell, his Nen ability is entirely for self-defense. It doesn't seem to have any real crime-solving applications. This means that Mizaistom's competence as an investigator has nothing to do with Nen. It's all his own skill and proficiency in deductive reasoning. My point with all this is that he's been doing this for years. His career has no doubt taught him two things: that he should trust only himself, and that he's extremely good at his job. As a result, Mizaistom refrains from sharing crucial information with other people, and this policy is seriously going to bite him in the ass. While he espouses transparency as the best idea, deep down, Mizaistom believes that he should have a monopoly on information, and only he should have the authority to decide who's trustworthy, who's not, and who deserves to know what. The first and most important example of this is his deep trust in Kurapika and overall handling of the Saiyu situation. For reasons I used to only be able to articulate as out-of-plot convenience, despite being suspicious enough of his comrades except for Cheadle to open an internal investigation into them, Mizaistom quickly comes to trust the newest recruit to the Zodiacs, to the point of having faith in him to determine who among the Zodiacs is a traitor. But after properly analyzing Mr. Stom here, I've come to realize that this wasn't just a plot contrivance, or, while maybe it was a choice Togashi made for plot reasons, he then did the necessary work that so many authors skip out on and created a character with whom this behavior would be consistent. See, Mizaistom obviously did a background check on Kurapika because he does that on everyone, and came to the conclusion that Kurapika has no relation to Beyond. But the thing is, we later learn these background checks aren't particularly effective, because they fail to catch a whole bunch of Beyond Netero's assassins. And really, if we're looking at this from the perspective of a suspicious outsider, Leorio and Kurapika are shady as hell. Knowing that Periston was conspiring to fill the Hunter Association with his allies, and is an enemy of Jing, that entire punching Jing shtick during the election comes across as a careful performance to gain even more pull and popularity within the Hunter Association. Mizaistom should be incredibly suspicious of these two, but he's demonstrably not. Why? Obviously, we, as the audience, know they're chill, but Mizaistom doesn't read Hunter x Hunter. So, if I had to guess, it's because of his intuition. The intuition he's developed over his years as a crime hunter. Leorio and Kurapika just do not fit the profiles of undercover agents, and that is why Kurapika immediately gets preferential treatment. See, inviting an outsider mob boss into the Zodiacs and immediately trusting him to determine the identity of the traitor among you is an objectively insane move. And Mizaistom, well, he knows this. We know he knows this because when Kurapika asks, "What if the only proof we have of Saiyu's disloyalty is my Nen ability?" Mizaistom responds, "There will be a lot of arguing. I'll surely be criticized." Yeah, no shit, dude, because what you're doing is fucking crazy. He knows the other Zodiacs will take issue with his obviously extremely questionable decisions if the first they hear of Saiyu being a traitor is Kurapika arresting him and Mizaistom saying, "Yeah, we knew the whole time because of the most suspicious man in the world's Nen ability, but decided not to tell any of you." That is one hell of a risk to take. So, why do they do it? Well, the justification for waiting to arrest Saiyu is sound. They don't want to give Periston time to come up with a backup plan. But what's foolish is not telling literally any of the other Zodiacs. Ideally, every one of the others should know except Saiyu. And, I admit, that's not realistic. If someone like Kanzai knew that Saiyu was a traitor, he would never be able to keep his mouth shut, and there's no way he could play it cool. But not everyone's a Kanzai. People like Cheadle, Pion, and Sako, who have demonstrated intelligence and level-headedness, should absolutely be clued in on this. Mizaistom's worried the Zodiacs will be upset when it comes out that Saiyu's a traitor and he and Kurapika never told anybody else. But this is avoidable. If more of the Zodiacs knew, that would make their case so much stronger when the truth came out. But Mizaistom doesn't want to do this, because he wants to be the one in complete control of the situation. Sure, if he were to hypothetically follow my advice, the people he tells might be upset in the moment, but he'll be telling them privately and well in advance of the voyage, meaning the time isn't pressuring them to act swiftly, and they'll have the presence of mind to think it through more clearly. Remember when Longhi talks to Kurapika and says, "I would have gone along with Beyond's plan if I only knew about it from the beginning"? I think it's the same with the Zodiacs. Plenty of them would have been on board with the plan to arrest Saiyu if Mizaistom and Kurapika told them in advance. But when the situation aboard the Black Whale is in the midst of going critical, those same people are not going to be receptive to what Kurapika and Mizaistom are telling them, and they will absolutely cry foul. Heck, the Longhi scene might even be foreshadowing this eventual conflict. There's another way this decision displays arrogance. Mizaistom wants to keep this on the down low because he thinks arresting Saiyu as late as possible is the right play. But what if he's wrong? The other Zodiacs I mentioned are all shrewd and resourceful tacticians themselves. What if one or more of them actually have ideas about why arresting Saiyu earlier is a better call? Mizaistom is never going to hear those ideas because he's already made the executive decision not to trust his comrades, even the ones Kurapika's ability has declared innocent. That's what I want to stress. Even people he knows he can and should collaborate with, he chooses not to. He didn't even consider the possibility that they might come up with something he personally hadn't thought of. Instead, he made the choice to tighten surveillance on Saiyu in search of some Hail Mary piece of evidence that may not even exist. Instead of just telling a few more people to make sure the situation doesn't explode, as I want to remind you, he's well aware it is going to, he's gambling everything on this mythical piece of evidence that, even if it exists, he may or may not even have time to get a hold of between his duties supporting the Royal Army and attempts to manage the crisis on the lower tiers of the Black Whale. Moids, am I right? While the Saiyu situation is the most glaringly obvious instance of this behavior, we see it other times throughout the arc. Firstly, Mizaistom clearly trusts Cheetle somewhat, enough to open an internal investigation into the other Zodiacs with her. Yet, he doesn't appear to keep her in the loop at all once he has Kurapika. So what gives? Does Mizaistom trust her or not? Again, I think this is evidence of Mizaistom's compulsive need to withhold information. When he discovers the Phantom Trooper aboard the ship, he doesn't tell Kurapika, even though it's obvious to anyone with a functioning brain that they're gonna head to Tier 1 sooner or later, and Kurapika will find out eventually. And while this one's slightly more understandable, albeit slightly, Mizaistom doesn't tell any of the soldiers he's working with to keep the peace aboard the Black Whale about Nen abilities because he thinks it would make them panic. Sure, there might be some short-term panic at learning of the existence of superpowers, but there's gonna be a hell of a lot more panic when a platoon of Kakinian soldiers who didn't even consider that a possibility get torn apart by a bulletproof guy in a dog mask. And besides, we see that Mizaistom's just, wrong. When Gipper's platoon find out about the existence of Nen users, yeah, it spooks them. But they don't just panic. They make a plan and prepare for the worst. And that's without the comforting help of an authority figure or an expert in the subject like Mizaistom to help them through that. So yeah, Mizaistom is arrogant because he drastically underestimates his own allies to the point of keeping crucial information from them. They say Nen is a deep reflection of a person's personality and individuality, and Hunter x Hunter has shown us time and time again that this is true. Nen is the ultimate way to express oneself and one's desires, and this applies to Mizaistom as well, of course. His 3 cards are the same colors as Japanese traffic lights. Just as he figuratively wants to hold all the cards, that's what he does with his Nen ability. These cards give him control over other people and the ability to say, ready, set, go. He wants to control how other people move, and that's why he never shares everything he knows with even his closest and most trusted allies. This kind of secrecy is going to get people killed. It's going to get Kakin's soldiers killed and contribute to the very anarchy on the lower tiers he's trying to prevent. It's going to make sure that Kurapika encounters the spiders completely unprepared for the possibility and prime him to make poor and hasty decisions to the detriment of everybody around him. And it's going to ensure the total collapse of the Zodiac's internal cohesion. I mean, Mizaistom literally knows who the traitor is, and yet this vow of silence is going to make it extremely difficult to actually arrest the guy. Talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive into this secretive, strange little cowman. I hope to see you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.